Vice President of the Confederacy said the cornerstone of the Confederacy is slavery. Slavery gave this country a 250-year head start economically. If Haiti wouldn't have sent the French backpacking, America never would have had Louisiana, never would have had Texas, or anything worse than that. Because they kicked the French's ass in such a bad way, they had to leave, and economically, they couldn't fight the ex-Brits that were over here anymore for this land. So the reason you even have America, and Frederick Douglass talked about this, the only reason you have it is because a bunch of Haitians kicked a bunch of French folks' ass. We don't even know the proper arguments because we've only accepted the fact that we was just lowly slaves. But if you see yourself as just a lowly slave and not the most important cog in the machine, you'll forever have low self-confidence. But if everybody said, man, we ain't picking no cotton got picked, how would the South have gotten rich? Alexander Stephens said, who was the Vice President of the Confederacy, said the cornerstone of the Confederacy is slavery.
Peace and greetings. So I want to go over this Alexander Stephens cornerstone speech. Killer Mike made a lot of errors in his demonstration. He very ambiguously speaks about Haitians, French, and the ex-British. He acts as if the so-called Haitians just whooped them off and they disappeared. No, they're still acting in name today only, still enslaving. He said that in this speech, they supported the Confederacy off of slavery being the cornerstone. But we'll go over that statement at the very end, but we're going to go over the whole reading because it really breaks down the caste system and the need for nationality and the ignorance and ignoring of nationality on his part and his people's part, whom call themselves black, which in Spanish is Negro. To this day, they call themselves names that delude to slavery, but they want to blame it on a pale skin. It is documented 3/5 also meant that you could trade 3 European slaves for 5 Asiatic slaves. So they both was in slavery. Its foundations are laid, its cornerstones rest upon the great truth that the Negro is not equal to the white man, that slavery, subordination to the superior race, is his natural and normal condition. This, our new government, is the first in the history of the world based upon this great physical, philosophical, and moral truth. And that truth is there's a caste system. And if you're calling yourself Negro, black, or colored, you're calling yourself names that delude to slavery, especially comparing it to white when Judge Taney and all of them came out and let you know those are caste system. So you were supposed to stop calling yourself names that delude to slavery and start honoring your foremothers and forefathers so that your days may be long upon the earth. Killer Mike. Alexander H. Stephens cornerstone speech from Henry Cleveland Alexander H. Stephen in public and private with letters and speeches before, during, since the war, Philadelphia, 1886, page 717 to 729, March 21st, 1861, Savannah, Georgia. We are passing through one of the greatest revolutions in the annals of the world. 7 states, I repeat, 7 states have within the last 3 months thrown off an old government and formed a new. This revolution has been marked up to this time by the fact of its having been accomplished without the loss of a single drop of blood. The new constitution or form of government constitutes the subject to which your attention will be partly invited. Remember, the North and South was without power or nationality, and the North clung to the caste system to support their institutions on slavery, Killer Mike, with the 14th and 15th Amendment. Everyone who wants to be U.S. citizens, 14th and 15th Amendment, you're placed under the caste system, white or black, and you can be treated any which way because if you commit a crime, then you can be put under servitude, and it's a crime to call yourself out of your name under caste systems, dishonoring your foremothers and forefathers. The South did not want that. They demanded dependence and nationality word for word. It's already on documentation. It's already on the record, but the South demanded nationality. And also, you spoke ambiguously. You was talking about the Haitians, the British, and the French. You said nothing about the Moors. All of those melanated people that was fighting was Moors, dummy. Either they had crescents or they had crosses, and they was either crossing traitors or they was crescent warriors. Indeed. In reference to it, I make this first general remark. It amply secures all our ancient rights, franchises, and liberties. All the great principles of Magna Carta are retained in it. No citizen is deprived of life, liberty, or property, but by the judgment of his peers under the laws of the land. So what's he saying? He's saying if you honor the ancient rights, then you have your liberties. So if you're even a foreigner over here in the Americas and you're honoring your nationality, you won't be socially absorbed. You will have more respect than those that are calling themselves names that allude to slavery, such as white and black, if you stand with nationality. But the Moorish government, the Moorish powers, and the European powers understand that there are those that can't be by themselves leading. They have to be led. So, man, all this caste system, it has to be, man, because ain't none of these people want to wake up. 90% of them have to be led, or there's going to be chaos. And even the 14th and 15th Amendment, although it puts you in a caste system, you have a choice to or not to. So if you choose to do that, that's on you, and you'll get treated any which way that we care to bestow upon you, because we know you're dishonoring. And you know about it, and you still want to be asleep. Killer Mike, I know you heard about the Moors. I know you heard about nationality. But you want to sit on the porch and speak with these elders while y'all drink beer and speak about the South and lie on the South. They wasn't supporting their institutions on slavery. They specifically said they was fighting against the North, who was supporting their institutions on slavery. The old principle of religious liberty, which was the honor and pride of the old Constitution, is still maintained and secured. All the essentials of the old Constitution, which have endeared it to the hearts of the American people, have been preserved and perpetuated. Some changes have been made. They form great improvements upon the old Constitution, which it doesn't. The subject of internal improvements under the power of Congress to regulate commerce, because they're speaking about updating slavery. Those who still want to call themselves names that allude to slavery are going to be putting commerce and slavery. They form great improvements upon the old Constitution, the subject of internal improvements under the power of Congress to regulate commerce. Those who don't want to have nationality, Killer Mike, that has to be led, is put at rest under our system. That means we're going to put the slaves over here, and those who want nationality, then they can be free with their ancient rights. The new Constitution has put at rest forever all the agitating questions relating to our peculiar institution, African slavery as it exists among us, the proper status of the Negro in our form of civilization. You hear that, Killer Mike? He said the proper status of the Negro is what? African slavery as it exists among us, the proper status of the Negro in our form of civilization. This was the immediate cause of the late rapture and present revolution. Jefferson in his forecast has anticipated this as the rock upon which the old Union would split. He was right. What was conjecture with him is now a realized fact. But whether he fully comprehended the great truth upon which the rock stood and stands may be doubted. The prevailing ideas entertained by him and most of the leading statesmen at the time of the formation of the old Constitution were that the enslavement of the African was in violation of the laws of nature, that it was wrong in principle, socially, morally, and politically. It was an evil they knew not well how to deal with. It's because they was asleep, bro, and they couldn't take care of themselves, man. It was an evil they knew not well how to deal with. And that evil was them committing the greatest sin of all times, dishonoring your foremothers and forefathers. But the general opinion of the men of that day was that somehow or other the institution would be efficient and pass away. That's because eventually your ass would get tired of getting ran to the dirt and wake the hell up. But you don't. You keep wanting it and crying and blaming someone else, man. This idea, though not incorporated in the Constitution, was the prevailing idea at that time. The Constitution, it is true, secured every essential guarantee to the institution while it should last, and hence no argument can be justly urged against the constitutional guarantees thus secured. Because of the common sentiment of the day, those ideas, however, were fundamentally wrong. They rested upon the assumption of the equality of races. You hear that? This was an error. It was a sandy foundation, and the government built upon it fell when the storm came and the wind blew. because they're dealing with all these foreigners in the land. And the foreigners didn't want to have to identify his nationality here because it would show they was a foreigner. So they try to make a generic American nationality, which amalgamated. We already went over all this, Killer Mike. You way behind, man. Our new government is founded upon exactly the opposite idea. Its foundations are laid, its cornerstone rests. So if you have so much to say about the slavery in the South back in the day, well, it's been updated and now slavery is commerce. And you say you a U.S. citizen and you pay your U.S. taxes and you say that you're black. And if you say otherwise, African American, American, African, black, whatever you say you are, I know you ain't saying you more because I could tell the way you're talking, you're incompetent and ignorant, bro. You just need to go back to rapping about whatever bullshit you was rapping about to the youth back in the day. Bunch of bullshit is what it was. I'll go ahead and close out with this. The Delaware Moors, they are industrious, forehanded, and pious. Down in Delaware, that particular class of people known as the Moors have got together and have made a vigorous protest against being classified on the registration list as N, in contrary distinction to W. The N meaning the name so denoted is that of a Negro, the W that of a white man. Now, although the Moors make no pretense of being of the same blood as their white brothers, yet they insist that they are not Negroes and object seriously to being proclaimed as such, even on the registration list. And Mr. Mike, they knew that that was a caste system, and that was in the 1800s. It's 2024 and you're still calling yourself names that allude to slavery, Mike. Trying to tell other people to follow after you. You're overweight. You got arrested at the Grammys and you niggered out at the Grammys, bro. You niggered out at the Grammys, bro. You're talking about slavery back in the day, man. People don't know how to act and govern themselves. Just like you. You niggered out at the Grammys, bro. You can't even govern yourself. You talking about slavery, bro. Shut up, bro. Just shut up.